Ingomar, Montana. Once the sheep shearing capital of North America, its population is now 7 people. It was founded in 1908 on the back of the Homestead Act along a spur of the Milwaukee Railroad. Between 2010 and 2015, I found stories of coyotes, cowboys, antelope hunters, rattlesnake dens, European settlers, and intergenerational farmers. Ingomar paints a true picture of the American West, and it is a great example of how the West was settled, and not too long ago. These days, it only hosts a few dedicated players who refuse to leave it because of the unforgettable beans at the Jersey Lily. The landscape was vast, beautiful, and full of potential. Hiking the first day, looking for rocks, I imagined the people, their lives, and what stories they tell. Like the generations before, the potential presented by the land amazed me with its beauty and the opportunity of making something from it. In this series of videos, my plan is to introduce a body of petroglyphs carved into the rim rocks on a homestead in Ingomar, Montana, sharing some of the incredible stories of the people and places that inspired the work. Because my work is so permanent, engaging with the community and commemorating real-life stories is incredibly important. My work comes from experiencing a place. In Ingomar, I was lucky enough to make a good friend in a place that fascinated me since childhood. Around the dinner table, as a kid, I heard stories of Ingomar, the Jersey Lily, and my dad's friend Jerry Brown. Jerry was deeply invested in the rituals around death, and as a result, he developed a deep relationship with the Crow Nation near Ingomar, to which he was initiated when I was 12. My parents went out for the initiation. I wasn't allowed to go, but my mom was thoroughly unimpressed with the outdoor privy at the Jersey Lily. Jerry's mythological status at our house made me want to see what the hell was going on in Montana, and in 2010, the opportunity arrived. In preparation for my van life petroglyph adventure, Jerry had said there might be some rocks out in Ingomar. My first morning in Ingomar, I met Joe Canta. "Whose van is that out there?" he bellowed. He became a dear friend, and quickly he invited me to work on his land and create a new series of carvings. Joe's father had emigrated from Czechoslovakia. Later, his mother made the trip alone, and the two were married at the train station upon her arrival. Joe and his father were the first to break the land they worked. They lost the homestead to a seed loan in the 30s, but bought the section next door in the 40s and then leased back the original half section. Joe's dad received 320 acres as a result of the 1909 Enlarged Homestead Act. The original Homestead Act, passed in 1862 and signed into law by Abraham Lincoln, was called by President John Kennedy the single greatest stimulus to national development ever enacted. Much of the settlement of the West was a direct result of these two acts. They allowed any adult citizen to claim 160 acres of public land by agreeing to live on it, cultivate it, and build a home within 5 years. The goal was to spur Western expansion and economic growth in the U.S. This act distributed millions of acres to new settlers, including women and African Americans, but importantly, they also displaced indigenous nations from their ancestral lands. It occurred to me that the meaning of the land of the free might mean something different than I was taught. Was it really the land of the free land? Almost unimaginably, 117 years later, Gen Z is predicted to never own homes of their own. The stories in these petroglyphs and the videos are those of real people and creatures that inhabit Montana, that created what we call Montana. They are stories of people who immigrated to the land of the free with the dream of building a life in a home, literally from scratch. My goal in Montana was to reflect what was happening on the land and how that place came to be what it is today. A key element of my practice is memorializing things that are important to the community. The hope is to bring a smile to people's faces or make them ask questions about where they live. The father and son petroglyph was just completed and it showed Joe driving the big articulated steering tractor and his son Matt driving the 1961 tractor pulling a gravity seeder. When Matt was walking back from seeing the petroglyph, he said, "Do you ever carve people?" I said, "Not really." "Well, could you?" "Sure, I suppose." "Well, could you carve my grandparents' wedding photo?" "Of course," I said. And the next day the photo arrived. It showed a young couple holding hands. The man, Joe's father, had come from Czechoslovakia and worked in the mines until homesteading in Montana. Once he was settled, he wrote back home, and his future wife was sent alone by boat and then rail to join him. They met at the train station in Miles Cities and were immediately married. This is where the photo was taken. They boarded the train to Ingomar, then walked the 4 miles back to the homestead. Joe's mom reported how dark and terrifying was the walk through the empty prairie, but where she was heading kept the fear at bay. A place of her own with a new husband in a new country. They were married 50 years and had 9 kids, and the Cantas are one of the last big families in that area. Carving the portrait was fun, and it turned out great. It captured the tender grip of each other's hands and the way Mrs. Canta leaned into her new husband. Theirs was a grip that would hold strong as they built a life in Ingomar, Montana. This snapshot of one family helps create a sense of the life and the history of the American West. The idea that my friend's dad homesteaded stunned me. Wasn't that ancient history? Turning buffalo grass into farmland is a monumental feat, and the strip farm below the carvings was literally broken by my friend and his dad. This made history feel immediate, reminding me that our ancestors are not as far away as they might seem. One of the sites on the Cantus place in Ingomar is a pictograph of 3 pickup trucks. Joe's homestead had a fleet of trucks, tractors, and implements, all of which were running, vintage, and paid for. There was a welding truck, a fencing truck, a general work truck, a couple of dump trucks, a tractor trailer, and multiple water trucks. In addition, there were multiple tractors dating back to the 40s, a combine, a road grader, a road planer, and so forth. Also, all paid for and maintained by Joe alone. Joe's expertise with engines, mechanics, and hydraulics was born of adversity. At 19, he was injured on the oil field. He lost a leg above the knee and the use of one arm. Workers' comp did not cover the hospital stay, so he wound up paying the hospital for years. Horseback riding was out, but he mastered the automobile. His skills, expertise, and pluck awed and amazed me. These vehicles were one good way to describe Joe. My first carving on site was a water truck, which was his main enterprise. The next carvings were the tractor carvings of Joe and his son Matt. Joe was driving a Deere 8630, and Matt was driving a 1961 Deere 5010. After wrapping up holding hands carving, I wanted to try a pictograph. So I asked Joe, "What's the best rig you ever owned?" Expecting to hear something cool. But he replied, 1981 Ford Courier pickup. All my kids drove it to school. It has 260,000 miles. My wife drove it to work today, and it never needed any big repairs. He was a man driven by pure utility. Also included in the pictographs are his current rig, a 2005 Toyota Tacoma with low-profile tires, and his oldest rig, a 1955 Chevy Apache pickup truck.